Hi everyone, I'm Savannah Murray. Most everyone here knows me as that guy's wife, but or the many children that run around and hug you. Have no idea who you are, but they hug on you anyways. Those are all my children. So this is the first time I've ever talked about this publicly, and I knew that it would come eventually because, you know, God, I didn't go through this for no reason, and I knew He would call me to speak, and so I guess today's that day. I'll tell you a little bit about my child, just a smidgen about my childhood. We grew up, I had divorced parents, and but they were both drill sergeants in the Marine Corps, so I'm sure you can imagine how super fun that was. With that being said, you know, we grew up in like a survival type mode, like you just figure it out. If you don't have money, you work harder. If you don't, you know, it's a platform of figure it out, make it happen, contingency plans, plan B, you know. Which is funny to me now looking back is that, you know, God uses moments like that to make us think that we're actually in control of anything, which, you know, we're not, so you can plan all you want. But anyways, that's a side note. In 2011, I met the first love of my life. His name was Brian Case. I knew from the moment I met him that he was going to be my future husband. I mean, I didn't tell him that when we introduced ourselves because that would have been like really weird, but like I knew that. And fast forward, we did actually end up getting married. So Brian was the first person that ever taught me what love truly looks like. He was a believer in God, and he loved me no matter how stubborn or bossy or busy I was. We worked together for years in ICU, and we spent most of our time together, whether it was at work doing 12-hour shifts or, you know, being husband and wife at home. He believed that I could achieve absolutely anything I wanted to. And he was super proud to call me his wife. As a matter of fact, I mean that literally. He always referred to me as his wife. He called my work, which I work at children's clinic, so most children's clinic are full of women. He called work and he said, she answered, "Children's clinic, how can I help you?" He said, "Yes, I want to speak to my wife, please." "Can I please speak to my wife?" And she was like, "Well, there's like 50 women here. Can you narrow that down a little bit, sir?" And anyways, he just always was like, my wife. So he loved his family. Together we were trying to do everything right. We got married. We were both in school full time, trying to be nurse practitioners. We were working full time. We were trying to be great parents. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward to June 2nd, 2017. Brian and I woke up. I was running late for work. It was my first week back from having our third child, Charlie, which I'm sure some of you have heard her screaming in here. I was postpartum, so moms and dads can freeze your faces real quick, but you know, we go through postpartum hormones right after you have the baby, and we seem kind of crazy sometimes. But I also really hate being late for work. I really hate being late in general. So on this day, I was postpartum and I was late. So, and also, I don't know how you guys like your oatmeal. Either you like it soupy or thick, and I'm pretty particular. And Brian knew this, so the morning that I was up and I was getting ready, he came into the bathroom. He had his sleepy hair everywhere, and I was throwing things around trying to get dressed, and he had a bowl and he had the water. And he knew that I was particular, and he wanted to make sure that when it got done, it was like perfect. So I really wanted to take that bowl and like throw it because I'm running late, I'm freaking out, I'm postpartum. But for whatever reason, there was a moment where something, and I know now that it was just the spirit, but it was something telling me to slow down, and that my husband was trying to make me breakfast, and to appreciate that. And so there I was with a choice, and I took the bottle of water and I poured it, and gave him a stinky good morning breath kiss, and he went back about his way, and I continued to throw things around. Well, I finally got into the kitchen, and he had one of the TV trays out in the living room, and he had my oatmeal and my coffee sitting on the TV tray, like as if, and he's sitting there, like waiting for me to come and sit down and have breakfast with him. And I also, at that point, again, wanted to just get my coffee and like roll because I'm late, hello, and he's not understanding this apparently. But the strangest thing happened again. I knew who God was, but like Micah was saying, but I didn't actually like believe, like, and I say that now, it's almost, I mean, it's hard to say, but I really didn't believe in God. I knew who he was and I spoke of him, but I didn't actually believe in him. But I could feel the Spirit telling me to slow down and appreciate my husband. He's making me breakfast, and to sit and have breakfast with my husband. And so I did. I sat down and I had breakfast with my husband, and we chatted and talked, and I tried to act like I wasn't completely stressed out. Anyways, we spent the day at work. He was in nurse practitioner school doing his pediatric rotations, and so he was with me at work because I work at a children's clinic, which was really fun. I got to watch him do his thing with his little white coat going in those rooms, and I just told him as many times as I could that day just how proud I was of him and how hard he was working, and he was getting it done, and he wasn't just doing it small, like he was doing everything perfect. A dad, a husband, a worker, he had a lot of things he had going on, and he was rocking all of it. Well, about 5 o'clock, we're in my office, we're going to leave to clock out, and he had the biggest smile on his face, and he said, "This has been the best day ever." And it was as if time froze for a moment, because it really had. You know, you have moments where you're like, my life is on track, like we're exactly where we're supposed to be right now. And that was one of those moments where I was like, yeah, this really has been a great day. Like, everything's going to work out. You know, it also amazes me how many times on this single day I had a chance, I had a choice about how I was going to respond to my husband verbally and non-verbally. I had so many chances throughout that day. And this particular day, I had something, I chose him all day, and it made our day like a million times better than it normally does. Like, we had a really great day this day. But I wasn't always successful at choosing him, but I was on June 2nd. On the way home, we made arrangements for our boys to go stay the night with their Nana. He was very adamant that he'd go meet his mom in Columbia to get him, and he told me that he wanted me to go home and relax and to get dressed because he was going to take me and Charlie, his girls, out for dinner when he got back. And he left. I packed a bag, and he came over and he kissed me, and he said, "I love you, dear. I'll be back soon." At 7:30, about 2 hours after he just said that this was the best day ever, I began to get worried because he had not returned home yet from Columbia. So I called his mom and I started looking for him, and I had a bunch of people looking for him that day. I even had my sister in Lafayette looking for him. I don't know why I even, it was just crazy. I knew something wasn't right. So I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna go look for him myself. And I got Charlie in her car seat, and I started to buckle her in, and I saw a reflection of lights come through the front door, and I thought, oh, that's Brian Case. I'm fixing to let him have it. I was so mad at him for making me worry. He wasn't answering any of my million phone calls. I was fixing to let him have it. I wasn't even going to let him get into the house before I walked. I was going to meet him outside and just let him have it. But when I walked outside, there was 4 state troopers in my yard, and one of them was walking up to me. And he said, "Are you Mrs. Case?" And I said, "Yes." And I looked down, and he has Brian's cell phone, and he has his wallet. And he said, "Mrs. Case, your husband, Brian Case, he was in a wreck, and he didn't make it." And just like that, I went from "see you in a bit, I love you," to picking out my husband's casket. At 28 years old, I became a widow with 3 young children, 6, 2, and 8 weeks old. I went into autopilot most of the time. The night was the worst because, just all of the flashes going through my mind. But I was so mad. I was so mad at Brian for getting in the wreck and leaving me. I was mad because it wasn't me. I was mad that this God that everyone speaks of, he took the father of my children and he took my best friend. I started going to church because I thought if there is this thing as heaven and God really does exist, I know for a fact that Brian's there in my mind at this time. And, at that time I said, if there is a God, I know that heaven's there because he loved God and I just knew that's where he was, and I thought, well, if that's where he is, that's where I want to go. So, what do I need to do? I guess I'll try this church thing out. And yeah, it was completely selfish, but we're all pretty guilty of coming to God with, when it makes sense for us. And that's kind of where I started. I won't speak on grief today, maybe another series, but I will mention it is something that I have battled every single day, every single moment since June 2nd. And it is even crazy how I felt God working on me from the moment I woke up on June 2nd. All of the, pauses and all, he was there for me even when I didn't know he was. I went and ran a Warrior Dash several months later, and I had been working really hard trying to figure things out and get right with God, and I really wanted to make that connection with him. And this particular day, I was going through the obstacle course, and I was talking to him the whole time, but surprisingly, I felt like he was talking back. I felt like he was telling me that this Warrior Dash is full of obstacle courses, really hard ones, and some easy, and some swimming, you have to crawl, and you just get filthy, but he said, that's pretty similar to life, and I could feel him telling me that he needed me to give him all of this weight that was weighing down on me, my grief and my worries and my stress and my past and my tomorrows, because I just stayed feeling super weighed down. And anyways, I felt it so strongly that I actually stopped running and I stepped off the side of the course and I started praying. And I know people that were probably running by were like, what in the world, she's throwing up or something. But that's the first moment that I can honestly say I actually accepted Jesus into my life, and everything since then has been different. So October 20th, I was forced by my mother-in-law and my 3 children to go to the Franklin Fair. I really tried to pretend like I was sick, like I had the stomach virus or something. Me and Brian used to go every single year, and I just wasn't sure if it was something I was really ready to do yet. But I let her, I went. But just to paint a picture, I was in my white minivan, I had all of my children with me, my mother-in-law with me, and I was pulling into the parking lot, and so nothing about this was single, ready to mingle, okay? And Nate Murray happened to be parking cars that day, and all I can think is that it had to have been 100% God putting us exactly where he needed us to be, because the moment that our hands met to exchange some cash, and yes, he made me pay $10. So, but there was like a power and energy that I'd only experienced one other time, and that was with Brian. We've been pretty step in step ever since. It wasn't a natural transition for me. Nate has never left my side, and as I navigate through my issues, I've always been transparent with him, and he's always 100% been there for me. And that's really hard. Oh, that's really hard to do. That's a good man. Anyways, I'm going to move on. Okay. Now, how has my experience affected how I love Nate? It's actually a really easy explanation. Before Brian passed away, I knew who God was. I just didn't believe in God. And I loved Brian Case with every single part of me that I possibly could, not having a relationship with God. And once I accepted God into my life, I loved him even more loved Brian even more, and I love him even more today than what I did when he was here, and that's pretty much my only regret, is that I can't tell him or show him anymore. But it is by the grace of God that I'm able to live life on a different level because he loves me. Becoming a widow so young forced me to learn how fragile life is, how sacred time is, and how beautiful it is. Most of all, being in a relationship with God first and Nate second has taken us to be able to experience what this is supposed to be on a completely different level. Every single night I pray, God, thank you for giving me another day with Nate, because it can change so fast. I also thank Nate every night for closing my eyes. I tell him, I say, thank you for loving me today. Because it's a choice. It really is. You have to make a lot of choices. It's not just when you get married, the day that you say I do, and you choose each other. It's every single day after that. You're faced with many situations where you can choose your gift and choose to love your spouse, whether that's, the distractions, social media, your phone, your arguments even are distractions. You choose your spouse. And I thank Nate every day for choosing me. My biggest thing is if you go home and you think today about any of this would be, if you thought today was really your last day or your spouse's last day, like what would you actually say to them? And I'm not talking about like when the car note is due and all of that, which is also really important. But anyways, I'm not talking about what bills and responsibilities. I'm talking about what would you really say to them? How do you feel about them? What do you appreciate about them? And not only that, I challenge you to take another step and to say it to them, because it doesn't matter when it's your time, it's your time. On June 2nd, 2017, Brian was not the only person that died that day. Parts of me died and broke that can never be replaced or pieced back together. But the moment I accepted God and a new me was born, and he continues to work in me every single day. And everything he has promised, just as he promised, has been different.
I don't want to hear anymore. Teach me to listen. I don't want to see anymore. Give me a vision. 'Cause you couldn't move this heart to be set apart.
I don't need to recognize the man in the mirror. I don't want to trade your plan for something familiar. I can't waste a day. I can't stay the same.
I wanna be different. I wanna be changed till all of me is gone, and all that remains is a fire so bright the whole world can see that there's something different. So come and be different in me. Is a fire so bright the whole world can see that there's something different. So come and be different in me. I know that I am far from perfect, but through you the cross still says I hearted. When they see me, let them see you. 'Cause I just wanna be different. I wanna be different. I wanna be changed. Till all of me is gone, and all that remains is a fire so bright the whole world can see that there's something different. So come and be different. I just wanna be different. So could you be different in me?
Friends, thank you for joining us today at Westside Emmanuel Baptist Church, the church that loves God and loves people. We hope you'll be able to join us this coming Sunday at 10:30 a.m. or 6 o'clock in the evening time. Wednesdays at 6 o'clock for our prayer service, and we also have youth and children's activities as well. We look forward to seeing you. Hope to meet you in person here in Bogalusa with Bogalusa on our heart. We hope to see you soon.